This is round 4 of the Maine State Championship. I'm playing a 1700 Nicolas Lurin. I don't know how to pronounce Dutch names. He was apparently 2100 Dutch national rating back in the day. He's an older gentleman, maybe in his 50s. And yeah, he's 1700, local player here in Maine. And this game got pretty intense pretty quick. He played e4, and I played the PHILIDOR. Well, I started out with the perk move order, or the Pirk move order. And then on move 3, I play e5, so it transposes to a PHILIDOR. And what I didn't know until after the game was that he himself is a PHILIDOR player, and I only found that out, and which explains a lot. Well, it explains a lot about this game, as you'll see in a bit. So he plays knight of 3, and I exchange in the center. So I play the open PHILIDOR, or the exchange variation of the PHILIDOR, and this is the second time my opponent has ever played. Any of my opponents have played knight of 3. Last weekend at the Maryland Open, this woman Daniela, she played knight of 3 against me, and I lost that game horribly. So, but outside of that game, I've had great results with the PHILIDOR. So I exchanged in the center, played bishop e7. So I basically take like a systematic approach where I just take in the center, play bishop e7 and castle, always. Like almost always here. He plays bishop e2, and I castle, and then he thinks for like 20 minutes here and plays g4. So he thought for like 5 minutes on bishop e2, and then he thinks for like 20 minutes before playing g4 here. And he told me after the game that he is a PHILIDOR player, and he was just trying to figure out what system he wants to play, because he knows all of them, because he plays them, he plays against them. And he was expecting to play black, because he got double white actually. He had white in round 3, and now he has white again in round 4. So he was actually expecting to play the black pieces, so he was studying a bunch of PHILIDOR lines before our game started, which was kind of really funny. But he's playing this, and I have never seen anything like this before, because I'm new to the PHILIDOR, and I don't play it online. Like, I only play it over the board. Yeah, it's just a choice I've made, like, because I just don't want it to be seen on my online accounts. I only have one online account. I should probably make an alt account and start playing the PHILIDOR online there. But I just haven't done it, so I've only played it over the board. So I don't see all these wacky sidelines and stuff. So here he played g4, and the only principled approach I could think of is playing d5. Nothing else really makes sense here. Playing slowly like rook e8 and like allowing g5 and like h4, like, is this really okay? Why am I doing this to myself? Like, do I hate myself that much to do this? No. I'm going to play principled. If someone attacks you on the flank, you strike back in the center. That's the most principled approach you can take here. And so he doesn't take my pawn on d5 and start opening up the center. He pushes his pawn to e5, and now I hop in my knight on e4. I was sort of expecting him to trade on e4 and then play bishop e3 and keep the position solid, maybe play queen d2, maybe play c3, and maybe castle queenside. Instead, though, he didn't do any of that. He played queen d3. And that was really shocking to me, because now I just play bishop e4, and now I'm just putting pressure on the pinned piece, PP on the PP, and now if he plays bishop d2, it's kind of like a world's oyster here. I can probably take on d2, and after queen takes, play c5, and after the knight drops back anywhere, let's say f5 for example, then I can probably simply just a d4 here. And if you push a3, it's too slow. Whoopsies, it's too slow, because now I attack the queen with tempo, and I just win a piece. So you have to be very, very careful here with the white pieces. So already I feel like I'm much, much better here. And he castles. And I go into a kind of a long tank, because I want to try to make sure I am playing this position appropriately. Giving up the bishop pair is a big decision, but my knight on e4 is very good, and I'm going to strike back in the center with c5 and play very energetically. If I take with the knight, he takes back with the pawn, and yes, like his pawn structure is very damaged, and I keep the bishop pair, but I have to retreat my bishop back to e7, and it feels just slow. It just feels slow here, and I'm like, is this really the right idea? Am I really making the right choice by bringing my bishop to b4, then back to e7? Like it feels wrong here. So that's why I took with the bishop and then played c5. He told me after the game that actually knight d7 was the move he was expecting me to play because if he plays a move like f4, then I can have this move f6. This is a key move in this position. And I was like, I don't know. Like I didn't really calculate this because I thought like e6 was possible, e6 and f5, but e6 is not possible because I have knight c5 attacking the queen and opening the door on this pawn with my knight and my bishop here. So this is just much better um, for black was what the conclusion we came to after the game. But I don't know. I'm not really so sure about it. One of the things I was really concerned about after knight d7, well, maybe not knight d7, but like just in general, was this move c4. I was really worried about this move c4 if this knight was traded. So like, let's say I play c5. If he goes knight f3, knight c6, and then this move c4. I was always worried about this move c4 because it's kind of like questions the integrity of my position, the integrity of my center, asking me what the heck am I doing. Like I actually thought the main move I was calculating was knight f5 here, knight f5 and knight c6 attacking the pawn and c4, and here I was going to play knight takes e5 and after queen takes, probably just take the pawn and then take the knight, and now we reached an endgame where I have the two knights versus his two bishops. He has the doubled f pawns, which may not be good here, and yeah, and we're just gonna play out this position here. I might play knight c3 in this position, attacking the bishop. This could be good. This could be good. I definitely want to get rid of the bishop pair. When your opponent has the bishop pair and you don't, you always want to force him to get rid of the bishop pair. And here he's forced to get rid of the bishop pair. There's not much you can do. You can go to bishop h5, but then I can just go g6. And after pawn takes, he's going to be losing his bishop no matter what. Well, losing very loosely. I mean, I actually can win this pawn first and allow him to keep the bishop pair for now. So I'm not really sure what the best plan is, but it's definitely not bad for me. Like this isn't bad for me. But I was really worried about the c4 move for a very very long time. But I eventually determined that I should not be worried about the c4 move because the e5 pawn is often hanging. But yeah, instead of that, after c5, he plays a move I was not expecting. He plays this move f3, and I was like, whoa! Like if I move, I'd have very few squares to move my knight to. The only square I can move my knight to is knight to g5 here. But this just feels like it's giving him a lot for no reason. Like for example, h4, then knight h3 check, and after king g2, I could take this, and then I'm pinning myself. Well, I guess in this case, this looks bad, but it's kind of crazy. Yeah, this looks very suspicious to say the least. And then if I go and after h4, I could go back to e6, but I've lost all this time moving my knight from f6 to e4 to g5 to e6. Like, is this really the best idea? It definitely feels wrong here. Yes, he's creating a lot of weaknesses near his king, but is it really worth it? I'm just not so sure. So after f3, I decide to fully commit to the bit. I take the knight on d4. He takes on e4. And how many times have you seen a center pawn structure like this? He has double isolated c pawns. I have double isolated d pawns, and he has double isolated e pawns. Like this is a reverse Oreo sandwich here, and really black should be much better here because the king is weak. It really comes down to king safety here, as we'll see in the game. Here, I prioritize development, and I just play knight c6. I was considering taking on e4 first, and then playing knight c6, but I was kind of getting annoyed by rook d1. Rook d1 just seemed way too annoying to me, and I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. So that's why I played knight c6, because now I'm threatening to take, and my knight's already on c6. So if you take, I'm going to take, and if you take, I'm going to take, and if you take, I'm going to take, and now I'm attacking the bishop and eyeing g4 as well, and there's not much you can do. You can defend both of these pawns with the move bishop d1, but that is sad, and that should be not good for you. That's my evaluation. Here I can probably go bishop e6 here, eyeing a2. If we go rook b1, I'm going b6 here. And if we go bishop e3, then I can just drop my knight back. Where do I want to drop my knight back to? Maybe just rook d8, honestly. Don't drop my knight at all. Maybe this is the way to play. And maybe I'll take on a2 next. Maybe I just put my other rook on c8. Maybe that's how I will play. But yeah, I mean, like, I think black should have a slight edge in this endgame. So that's one of my ideas in this position. He, however, plays pawn takes d5, and after queen takes, he plays bishop f3. So now he's getting his bishop on this nice long diagonal. And originally, what I thought I was going to do was I was going to go queen takes e5, but I was really worried about bishop takes f3, and then c takes d4, and this just looks too. It looks like I'm giving up too much, because now it's bishop opposite colored bishops, which should favor the attacker. However, at the same time, I feel like I'm still a couple moves off from finishing development here. I don't really have a good spot for my queen. I could lose the game very quickly if I go queen d6 here, because bishop a3 guarded by the queen on d3 skewers my queen and to my rook, so that's not very nice. And then and if I go queen d5 here, he could maybe play c4, maybe, and then maybe bishop a3, then maybe bishop f4, and and his king is weak, but I'm not really taking advantage of it yet. And if like, I don't even know what else to do, to be honest. Queen a5 feels like I'm going too far on the edge of the board, but his pawn on g4 is hanging. So after h3, maybe then I could play c5. Maybe, I'm not sure. So, but at any point, I thought taking the pawn on e5. That just seemed very unappealing to me. That just I didn't like how the position looked, and so that's why after bishop f3, I went queen c5. Setting up a discovered attack against the king. So now if bishop takes c6, I can do d takes c3 check, and if bishop e3, that can take the bishop on c6, and then let's say like rook b1, then b6, and bishop b7, and now suddenly the king's nakedness is fully on display here. Not PG-13 at all. So after I play queen c5, he just plays rook b1, putting pressure on the b7 pawn. So now one of my ideas was, I was gonna maybe play knight takes e5. If he just played like a random move like a3 that does nothing, then I could play knight takes e5, queen takes, knight takes the bishop, rook takes, queen takes, pawn takes, and now bishop takes g4, so I win a pawn at the end. But now, with the rook on b1, now, if I do that, if I win a pawn at the end, well, now I will, I'm going to be losing a pawn at, this b7 pawn is very weak here. You go rook g3 here, attacking the bishop, and I don't want to undevelop, and if I go here, he can take, and then I can go here, but now he has two passed pawns, and this is not very convincing for black at all. It's really not. So that's why So that's why, rook b1 is a very tricky move, very nice. But also, rook b1 has the idea of swinging forward, going rook b5 here, defended by the queen, attacking my queen, forcing my queen back. However, it's starting to all get a little loosey-goosey here, because now I go rook d8, and now I'm setting up a discovered attack on the king and a discovered attack on the queen at the same time. But now he jumps in with the rook b5, attacking my queen. And now, so now maybe my queen is misplaced. Not the case. Actually, my queen is actually in a really nice spot here. So even though it's forced away from this diagonal towards the king, actually it can swing back and around. That's why queens are so powerful. I can swing back and around towards the white king very, very quickly here. And I still have two attackers or two defenders of the d4 pawn. So he takes on d4 to open up the queen's a line of sight on the a3 square for his bishop later. But now I just take on d4. And now I'm attacking the rook. I'm attacking the bishop. What are you gonna do? I'm setting up a discovered check. So he would have to take back with the queen. But now he plays bishop a3, which I think that's a mistake, because now I'm forced to go where I already want to go, towards the king, towards the weak king. He pushed his g-pawn on move 6, and now he's paying the price for it. White would love if they could push their pawn back to g2, but they cannot in this case here. Their king is weak. This g-pawn is hanging in a lot of cases, and he thinks down pretty far down on the clock here. So this is move 19. So move 20, after queen h4, I have 20 minutes. And after bishop a3, he has 12 minutes here. So we both have been using a lot of time. It's game in 90 plus 30. We're not getting to the 40th move. We're not going to get to the second time control. This game is ending now and now. It's ending now. And here, White has so many options. It's actually ridiculous. Like what happens if White takes the pawn on b7? Then I can take the rook, and I'm attacking the queen. And then after queen f3 here, h7 is hanging. So if you take, then there's actually check here and check here. Oh wait, no, it's not checkmate. I thought there was a checkmate somewhere. No, you could take here actually. I could take here. So then after it takes, well now this h7 pawn is hanging, but then I could take. So actually it should be totally fine here. Nothing to worry about. I'm up a rook and a knight here. So it's actually not that bad. Okay, I thought that was actually worse. I thought there was more scary stuff. Where is the scary stuff at? I think Black is just winning here. He thinks that from 12 minutes down to 5 minutes on this move e6. And his original plan, and I just take it. I just take it. Oh, cool. I get to develop and take a pawn. Easy peasy lemon squeezing. If you go rook takes rook takes b7, I don't care. I could, if I want to, either take this pawn on g4 or play knight takes, and after queen takes, play rook d2 here, attacking the pawn on h2, and if h3, then I can play this really nice move, bishop d5 here, attacking the queen, attacking the rook. If you go queen e3, then I can take the rook, and after queen takes, I can go check. You cannot block with the queen, so after king h1, oh wait, you have to block with the queen, it's a mate. Yeah. So it says very, very tricky. Very, very tricky for White. Very easy to lose this game. So I just take. But his idea is to go rook h5. That was his idea. But he said he missed the fact that, knight takes, queen takes, and he loses a second pawn. That's the thing that he said he missed. And now with two pawns up, this should be winning. Even though it's opposite color bishops, this pawn is weak, this pawn is weak, and I have this past f pawn. I'm gonna double up and centralize on the d file, and there is not much White can do at all. This should be a win for Black. It's just gonna take another 40 moves and probably 5 hours. So after e6 and I take, he does not play rook h5. He plays rook e5. He comes up with this nice little trick here, except it doesn't work. So what I do, I take the knight on f3, and for me, the etiquette is, that you should notate your opponent's move before you make your move. That's what most people do. However, when my opponents don't notate my move and then make their move without without notating my move first, then it's like, okay, there's no holds bars. You don't notate your move. I'm not gonna notate my move before. I'm not gonna notate your move before making my move. The ruling on this, from a technical standpoint, is that your score sheet needs to be reasonably complete, which means that there are no more than 3 incomplete pairs of moves. For your score sheet. So as long as you're notating, in a span of 3 moves that you make, so 6 moves total, so 6 half moves. So as long as you're notating, 3 at a time, you should be fine. So um, so so he takes back without notating. I play rook d2 without notating. He takes the my bishop on e6, and then he resigns because now I can play queen takes h2, checkmate. So yeah, so his trick in the position is to sacrifice the rook, and then if I take, he'll play queen f8 check, sacrificing the queen and getting a back rank checkmate, guarded by the bishop here. So a very nice sneaky trick here, but the issue is I set up a checkmate of my own, so he had some tunnel vision here, not noticing my own checkmate threat until after he made his move. So here he could play h3, but now I play h6. So now the rook sack doesn't work anymore, because after check, I'm just going to take and play king h7. Also, if queen f7 check, then king h8, king h7 anyways. And yeah, there's no perpetual. He needs another minute, but if he takes this pawn, then it's just going to be check here and mate. So so it just is absolutely winning for black, no matter how you slice or dice it. And yeah, so that was the game. That was a game. I would say this game was all over the place. It was very stressful, but I love games like this. How back and forth, well, not back and forth, but just how crazy and nonsensical this game was. I definitely like this is chess. This is chess. I do want to note, after rook b1, I can still go pawn takes c3 check, and after bishop e3, go queen takes e5. But I was not convinced of this. Like, his development is really high. He has a lot of development here. You could even do... Okay, I was trying to think of a way you could sack your rook, but I don't think you can do that. You can't sack your rook. At least not yet. But I was not convinced by this at all. Like, this just looks scary for black. Even though I'm up 2 pawns, like, he has all the development in the world. Meanwhile, I just haven't. This pawn is weak. This pawn is weak. I just want to get my pieces in the game ASAP. So I didn't want to be greedy here and start taking pawns. I wanted to complete development here, create some threats, and then eventually bishop a3. I think that was a mistake, and now he's forced to give up a pawn, and then I win. Well, I win the game in this case. I would have won a second pawn in a lot of cases, but instead of that, I win pretty quickly. So the game was literally, he resigned on move 23 here. So kind of a crazy game. Crazy game. So I end this round with 3 out of 4. So I know that in round 5 I'm going to be playing a 2200 national master. So that's always super fun. So I'm going to end it there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.